Genji just got a buff, a nerf. I'm not really sure what these patch notes on the experimental call is. All I know is that I played it. All I know is that it feels kind of smooth, and at the same time, it feels kind of bad. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm beautiful, lovely gamers, and my name, as always, is Jonal. Before the video starts, a like on the video, comment down below, giving me your thoughts, opinion, have played the experimental cards. Do you like this? Do you not like this from what you've seen so far? Do you want this to go through or not? Would like to gather the opinions of a larger community, so drop those down in the comment section. Sharing this video around, of course, greatly appreciated. Same when subscribing to the channel if you like this type of content. I have a, I was actually working on this video where it's like, you know, how is Genji right now currently in the meta? How does he feel playing? How can you use him to kind of rank up easily and kind of abuse him? And then there is a small balance change which changes this video if this goes through, so I have to postpone that video. But of course, if you subscribe, hey, you'll at least catch it. I think the thumbnail looks kind of fucking crisp, not gonna lie. When this patch node that is currently live on the experimental card essentially does the following. The recovery time for his shuriken, so his primary and alt fire, is lowered from 0.75 seconds to 0.68 seconds. Now, you might be doing the math and being like, that is an 0.07% difference. And then, to compensate for that, they increased his ultimate cost by 15%. And the developer comments is that we increase Genji's shuriken's fire rate to enable him to have more impact outside of his ultimate and increase the cost of dragonblade to account for the increase in damage potential. Now, before I start talking about how the recovery of 0.07 seconds, how that feels and how I think that impacts the game and him as a hero, I want to just point out this. If the argument is that they have increased his ultimate cost by 15% to compensate for his potential, his damage increase potential, I just played some quick play games where I was shredding damage into tanks, and I was every single team fight, and this was like when we were like heavily outpoking the opposing side, I was getting outfarmed by my Ana by like 20%, 30%. Now, a good Ana player can get nano right before a Genji if the Genji is not too active, but in general, by average, they should have their ultimate around the same time. Once again, depending on how much impact each hero has, and so on and so on. But with the current patch, I was always, like, most of the times I was playing with this Ana. He was doing well, so, you know, good for him, right? Like, he was doing good. But he always had nano when I was, like, at 66, 68, 70% of my ult a lot of the time, which kind of speaks to how much impact. I think that the ultimate increase is pretty significant. And again, if the point of the developers is let's increase his shuriken, let's make him better, like, outside team fight, and then nerf him so he's not just played as an ult battery, like he's not just played for dragonblade, I can get that. But if you're not gonna watch any more of this video, if you're just gonna come in here, like it, watch until this part and then be out, then just note this. From my experience, I coach professionally, I have worked with way too many Genji players, I have way too many Genji guides on this channel, all that kind of stuff. My personal feeling of this nerf or this change is that his ultimate charge has been greatly increased, 15% on top of all the increase he already have had, but his 15% spread is a lot, and it has not been compensated directly by the recovery time. Now, on screen right now, PTR, or not PTR, I call it PTR, but experimental card, and the live is kind of showing you the different fire rates and have been showing you the different fire rates on the screen. That is how it looks. And if I show you some gameplay, which hopefully is running right about now, of me playing a Genji workshop, I will link to the video where it covers this workshop if you want the code, if you want to try it out yourself. It's a pretty good Genji practice if you want to just do some dashes, and it was actually developed by one in our Discord community. Check that video out if you're interested. But when playing around when you're looking at the footage, in just normal practice range, and when you're watching me kind of play against these bots, and especially if you go and play with the experimental card activated, you feel a significant difference. Like, it feels much more smoothly. Normally, and if you're a Genji player, you probably notice when you do like a right click dash melee, you a lot of the time end up with this very, very slight delay, where it's kind of like you do your right click, you do your dash, your melee, and then there's that like little gap in between. You can fire another volley of shurikens, and especially it's felt mostly when you don't add the melee, right? If you right click and you dash, and you then want to right click again or use your secondary fire, whatever you want to call it, there's this slight delay. And that has been not completely removed, but it feels somewhat smoother. It's actually kind of crazy how much a 0.07% firing rate increase or lowered of recovery time, it feels much smoother. It does. However, it has, in my opinion, very, very, very little. Outside of it feels great, it has very, very slight or very little gameplay value. I don't feel that when it comes down to the brass tacks, and if you do the math and you're like, oh, you're gonna have like, fucking 100 shots a game, and if you calculate all of those shots out, then, you will have a damage increase of whatever. If you run the numbers, it's probably one thing. But from playing this guy in, I think it was 3 or 4 of these experimental card games, it didn't feel that much different. It felt smoother, but I didn't feel I was pulling off plays I normally wouldn't be allowed to play. I didn't feel I was bursting people faster than I normally would burst them. It felt great. It felt like there was some gaps where I can get some shots off, and there will probably be some scenarios where, they're right about to get around the corner, and then you get a free shot off. And then, when you were spamming into choke points, right, it felt like you had a little bit more speed, a little bit more tempo, right? Could kind of like spam a little bit more, which, again, felt great. But when it came to the impact, I didn't feel I had that much more impact. I didn't feel I was bursting people faster or making more plays or being able to play more aggressively. I even tried to really like run suicidal at the opposing side, like really just get up in their faces all the time. Of course, this was also right after work, so I had absolutely no prior warm-up or anything like that. And trying that, and it didn't really feel like I had that much more impact, but it did feel, and especially that was kind of, it did feel like I never got my blade. Like, I could be, sitting on the top of fucking Roadhog's head and shitting on his face, and I would still not get my blade. I could do so much damage, deflect, fucking 5-man fire strikes. I would make some insane plays, which would have farmed so much ultimate shots for me, and it wasn't building fast. Like, it felt really slow and sluggish. Logically, that's because I am used to the current live ultimate building time, so of course it will feel slower, but I felt like it was seriously hampering my ability to have an impact. Like, the speed increase in my fire rate is not compensated correctly for what I lose in dragonblade build time. I don't think this is a buff. I 100% think this is nerf. I think it feels great. It feels much smoother, but it doesn't actually do anything number-wise to make him feel better. Unless you, again, if you're necros, right? Covered him a bunch on the channel, done a bunch of reviews of him, super fast Genji. Maybe he feels like there is actually a small impact because he's really like pushing the limits of that. And he can maybe get like a shuriken off like a millisecond before normally. But generally, even for somebody that, again, has been 4.2k as Genji, I don't really feel it. And I think that kind of sucks. I think if they did this, right, if they tuned down, they tuned the Dragon Maid ultimate cost, and please help this video go, viral. I want this. I have advertised this on a previous video, and then they gave Genji the buff, and then they took it away. Please, Blizzard, if you want to, I completely agree that Genji shouldn't just be an ultimate generator. I agree that Genji can be incredibly frustrating to play against for other players because Nanoblade is fucking busted. And therefore, an increase to his ultimate cost is valid. I 100% believe that, because especially if you get a Mercy Pocket onto the Genji, he builds blades so fast that it's ridiculous, especially when there's a bunch of like Winstons and Divas and Hammonds and Hogs playing the game currently. There's so much ultimate going around that he can just build blades incredibly fast and win off that. And that might not be something that we want. We rather want maybe him to be a little bit more scary with his shurikens outside of just building ultimate. So increase his ultimate cost to 20% if you have to, but give me back my 2 damage increase. Make my shurikens do 30 damage per hit instead of 28. I have done the math a billion times on this on the channel already. If a Blizzard employee watches this or something for the balancing team, you already know the numbers. This rounds up a bunch of the kills, so like he will need 1 less shot, or he can skip on the melee. And it essentially helps round out his kit and allow some bursts to be a little bit faster. And I think that is kind of what he needs. And yes, he was really, really strong when that patch kind of came out, but that was a lot of time because you didn't really compensate for his dragonblade time. You increase his speed of his shots, and then you also increase the damage of his shurikens, and he didn't get too affected on how much he was building on his blade. And I think that is, and you also gave him deflect cancel at the same time, right? Like, you gave him so many buffs. I think if you want this direction for Genji, which I actually like, where he's not just an ultimate generator, where he focuses far more on primary fire and using his shurikens and making those kind of plays, which I think is some of the most satisfying stuff, then I think that you should increase his damage on top of this, or else you need to like turn down his recovery time even more, down to like 0.6 or 0.62 or something like that. Then he needs like a significant, like a 0.1 second lowered under his current live recovery time. Because if not, then this is just a nerf for Genji straight up. And Genji, again, I was gonna make this video on it. Genji isn't like a busted broken hero right now on live. Like, he's not bad. He's not trash. He's not like garbage, especially since there's a lot of people that likes to play Die right now. So he can be pretty good, but he's not like busted. He's not like insane. There are other heroes that are way fucking better. And that's really it. If you made it to this part of the video, type weeb down in the comment section as always. I'll highlight all the comments that I get to see. And stay tuned, because I have a video on what they did to Reaper. He feels busted on the experimental card, so stay tuned for that video. Subscribe to the channel, guys. My Discord, my Twitch, and my Twitter is linked down in that description. I will hopefully start streaming when I get my fucking computer parts. I'm waiting for my CPU still. It was due in fucking December, and then it was due in January, and now it's due in fucking April to arrive. I don't know what's going on with the fucking global chip market. I just want my fucking CPU. So when that happens, I will start streaming. And of course, if you want to rank up, improve, and get better at the game, you can hire me as a private coach. 50 euros for a 2-hour session. It also helps support the channel. Greatly appreciated, guys. Please take care of yourself, stay positive, wear a mask. I love you guys very, very much. And of course, while it's important that you take care of others, remember to also take care of yourself. My name is Jonal. Keep the enemy in your crosshair.